Awesome. Welcome back to our Be Strong show. We are so glad to have you here with us today. My name is Michelle Shirley, CEO and Chief Heart Officer for Be Strong International, where we have been around for 31 years teaching all things related to healthy relationships and heart skills. I want to let you know today that we're also focused on making sure that students in the fall come back ready to work, ready for their academic year. And so we want to make sure that you are able to join us on July 28th for our back to school backpacking event. We are looking for corporations, partners, sponsors for that event so that we can fill backpacks full of amazing school supplies for kids to enjoy in the fall of the school year. So we're hoping that you will join us. Please visit our website for more information, or you can call our office at 305-969-7829. Our goal is to give away over 1,000 book bags filled with supplies. So please join us. Well, today I have a guest, and she is amazing, and she's also now I consider a dear friend of mine. I have today Yanyn San Luis, and she is the president, CEO of the Win Woman. And so welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to our discussion and our, vibing against each other, because I know we always vibe,
right,
and we have really delicious conversations. So thank you for having me.
Awesome. And I'm so glad because one of the things I can say in us working together, we have grown so much, we have learned so much, and it's just amazing when you can bring on a consultant that becomes a dear friend and really is vested in our organization and want to see our growth. So thank you for being here. This has been a long-awaited scheduled session,
I know,
right?
Totally.
You probably got like 50 calls like, Yanyn, are you coming? Are you coming?
I know. Like your staff was like, hey, it's today, so you're gonna be there? I'm like, yes, I'm gonna be there. Yes, I'm excited to get started, to be here and to share with the community.
Awesome. So tell the audience about the Win Woman.
Yeah, so the Win Woman is a social impact consulting firm. We have two verticals of our business. One that you're very familiar with, where we work with nonprofits. We're almost like an outsourced development team. Mm-hmm. So anything from prospect management and research to annual giving campaign execution to helping really onboard development team staff members. We're advocating for bridging the gap with the development functions for nonprofit organizations that are looking to scale and frankly be less dependent on very restrictive grants, private foundation, or federal dollars. And so we're trying to open up the lanes for nonprofit organizations in that vertical to really understand the components of unrestricted giving and have a little bit more flexibility and freedom to make the choices that they need to make for their greatest needs. So that's what we do on the nonprofit side. I know you're familiar with that.
Yes.
On the corporate side, we're helping add capacity to a number of different organizations. So we work with normally corporate foundations, their corporate social responsibility teams, or now what is called ESG, environmental, societal, and governance teams, to really understand their philanthropic support in the community and help them really infiltrate the community in the emerging markets and have a real impact with their community work. And so it's a nice two fields that we play in and that really nicely complement each other. But that's what we do as a social impact firm.
And why the name The Win Woman?
It's funny. Everybody asks me about this. They say, do you only serve women? You don't serve men, or that sort of thing. And actually, that's could not be further from the case. But the Win Woman actually is an ode to my absolute favorite superhero, which is Wonder Woman. And a long time ago, so if you don't know me, and I think you've gotten to know me a little bit over the last year, but for those of you who don't know me, I'm a highly competitive person. I love to win. So part of me, I was an athlete growing up. I performed.
What'd you play?
So I was a swimmer. So I was a swimmer for many years, and I played basketball and that sort of thing.
So cool.
And so I'd love team sports. I'd love competing. I used to, quite frankly, race. My dad used to race me to the table for dinner. I mean, these are the type of things, right? And I'm highly competitive. I always wanted to be a better version of myself. And so I remember when I was starting a business, I had a business coach that said, you're like the win woman. Like, you like to win. And I'm like, I went straight to the trademarking office to do that. So I trademarked it. And then as our things evolved, right, over the last few years, I realized that I'm actually not the only Win Woman anymore. And really the Win Woman term has evolved into this persona of, what does it feel like to be your highest self? So with the clients that we serve, whether you're the CEO of a nonprofit or you're an executive in the corporation, what does it look like to be your highest self, to work in your highest self and embody what is an avatar of the Win Woman or Wonder Woman per se? And so that's really the meaning behind the name. It evolved with me and my personal passions, but a lot of our team members, our clients embody what the Win Woman is.
I think that's so good. I love the fact that you are in these two spaces and you get to almost, and I could be wrong, but maybe influence those two spaces to work well together. What have you seen recently on the corporate side that allows sort of like these entities to understand how nonprofits work, and how have they evolved maybe to help nonprofits?
So many things have evolved post-pandemic. So I would say post-pandemic, after 2020, you started seeing, so I will share with you my background. I'll take a step back and share with you my background. So I get the honor and privilege of I created this business and evolved this business from, frankly, what was my extracurricular activities. I have been volunteering, community service, community impact, and I have such a passion to grow Miami in particular. And I wanted to see how the dynamics worked. And what I was realizing that didn't work, and what I was realizing, the gap in capacity for the corporations, was that a lot of times corporate members got tacked on community involvement responsibilities, but they didn't necessarily know how to navigate the community. So they might have a budget, and this happened a lot after, in 2020, where they now were influx of funds with for diversity, equity, and inclusion. There was a lot of funds that were poured in. They were tacked onto somebody's actual responsibilities, and they were like, I don't even know, this is not even my actual job. I don't know how to navigate this. And when I was on the side of being a frontline fundraiser, a lot of times it would be like, Yanyn, I have X amount of money, I have $1 million. Can you just build out the programming for us? Tell me where to give, and I'll give it to those organizations. And I realized, I'm like, ooh, this is a really interesting business opportunity, because it's an opportunity to really navigate and say, how can you actually make true impact in what you want to have, and align what the corporation is seeing as community impact, but also really understand the dynamics of nonprofits and what they need versus just kind of adding money to the equation. Like, what are the things that nonprofits actually need to build capacity? And what I realized coming from the nonprofit world is that you don't want you don't want a lot of restrictions with the gift. You want for your donors to trust you and you're the expert in your field. Like, you are the expert in heart skills. You are the expert in building relationships. We don't need dollars to be so restrictive and tied down into a specific program. We want it to be like, I want my dollars, I guess, as a personal donor, because I'm a donor to many organizations, I want my dollars to serve the greatest need of the organization at the time. And that should be at the behest of the board and the CEO. And, seeing those gaps is where I see that corporations now, where I see the trends happening, is that corporations now are being very, very deliberate about their financial opportunities and where they want to invest their funds and what the ROI is on their philanthropic efforts. And so we just help bridge the gap in really tracking those dollars and seeing the ROI and the impact that happens with nonprofits.
Yeah, and I can tell you that being around for so long, just going through those tight restrictions of funders and their requirements, and not to say that it's bad, because there are times in which the investors are actually local residents, right? Like, there's dollars there that we need to be accountable for.
Right.
No ifs, ands, or buts about that. However, I almost feel like if funders thought too about the capacity that nonprofits needed, right? it would allow for so much more long-term impact, right? Because now you actually have HR, so you can hire the right person.
Right.
It's not program managers having to run their programs, deal with metrics, deal with students, deal with
Correct.
families, and then try to figure out how they're going to hire someone.
Right.
You know what I mean? Without the skill sets that are really there to do that.
Exactly.
And then to onboard, and then
Right. Well, and
it's
then
just like, why?
it's unrealistic.
Yeah.
I mean, I will tell you. So this is what happens, right? And we get to have some conversations and influence some individuals and conversations with, philanthropists, but also corporate members, because our specialty on the corporate side is really corporate philanthropy, right? Corporate work, social impact work on the corporate side, and is having really candid conversations about, listen, at the end of the day, like, as much as you want your dollars to go to, funding these students for these scholarships to make sure that it goes directly to the impact, it takes people to make it happen.
Right.
We can't just think that just because nonprofits do, frankly, and here in Miami, nonprofits are the core of what makes this city go round. When you're talking about social work, social support services,
mental health
mental health, they're the ones
Kids
on
with
the ground. I mean, I'm getting
disabilities.
goosebumps just sharing it, but it's the truth. Like, they're the ones on the ground doing the work. And the reality is that as donors, as funders, we really need to enable. And the more and more I have conversations with nonprofit leaders, not just in Miami, because we have a scope of just working with national nonprofits as well.
Absolutely.
We're having conversations about, we want to, how do we build more trust with our donor base so that they feel comfortable seeing the impact that's having, but so that we also are making the case for them to understand that their impact dollars are safe with us,
yes.
right? Versus it's not just like it's going to a whole pot and people think, they have the common misconception, the CEOs or the staff members are giving themselves raises or what have you. No, there's actual capacity that needs to be built.
Yeah.
There's actual things like, let's allow for the nonprofits to dictate what that looks like with accountability and with impact, but let's not restrict them to just only serve outside of the community and just those impact dollars just be tied, because then and this is what happened in 2020. Lots of organizations had to go back to their donors. A lot of times there was a lot of shame in trying to go back to their donors and saying, listen, I'm not able to execute this program because of whatever was happening, restrictions with pandemic, maybe face-to-face and whatever, but if I can have your approval to get these dollars to just use them in this way, because this is really what my greatest need is. I think that opened up the sphere of being a little bit more transparent with your donors and what you need. Yeah,
and hopefully, funders at this point don't go backwards in that conversation, right?
I agree.
Going forward and saying, this could be part of your application too. Like, what are your greatest needs as far as capacity, and let's help make you great in those areas. I think there's something that you said too that was like a trigger for me, and I think it's trust.
Trust, yeah.
Trust has to be there, right? And I think it's important too for corporations to know the story of the organization.
Correct.
Because I was having a conversation yesterday with my team members, and something came up about me and being, just loyal and being there for so long. And it's very few people that know that there were times when I took no salary at all and worked 40 plus hours still.
Right.
And there were times even in our history where when we did get monies, I told my team, like, hey, this is the salary that you're going to make right now. If you're okay with this, I would love for you to be here until we, get our bootstraps going.
Right.
And they saw that I made less than them. So there are things that happen along the way that I think corporations are only looking at right now and not getting to know those CEOs and the ones that are really vested in their stories about how they were able to bring the company from the red to black,
right,
and how they were able to scale. All those things I think are important in those conversations. So when they're looking at someone's salary, you don't know the history behind what this person sacrificed
correct
at this point to be here, right?
100%.
I think those conversations are really important.
Yeah, I also just to add in, because it's not only the corporate side, but also in just philanthropy in general. A lot of times, like you, and I know you all write so many grants, private foundation grants and things like that. when you sit down to write these things, there is a vision of like you haven't executed the program yet. If it's, especially if it's a new program, right? There is a vision that you have for that time, and you maybe set deliverables for what limited scope you have of the idea of whatever program you want to execute. But as you come into the program, naturally emerging problems come up, right? Or emerging challenges.
Absolutely.
That
every time.
That you didn't anticipate for.
Right.
Or you didn't budget for that reason, right? And so being able to have, and this is actually in the industry is called trust-based philanthropy, being able to have an open door conversation where we say, we know that we've signed up for, let's say, $500,000 to execute this grant or what have you, and we had these deliverables, but if we can just have, points in our journey together, if it's a 3-5 year grant or whatever, where I can just say and level with you and say, hey, you remember when I put this? Well, it's unrealistic now because we're in the ground seeing the work. And even though it's really sexy to say that we've knocked on X amount of doors or done X amount of things, this is a different approach. We need a second step before we get to that, right?
Yeah.
And I need also extra funding for that because this is not going to cover it, right? Having that, being able to have that conversation and funders being open to that would be great.
Let me tell you, there's one. There's one that I currently have and I admire right now. I won't say the name just because I don't want to cause any problems out here in the nonprofit space. But I can tell you there was a time when I had a conversation with this particular program manager and just sharing with them, what the challenges were. And like Be Strong likes to win. There is no doubt about it. We are heavy hitters and always doing our very best. And I remember this individual saying to us, basically saying, it's okay. Like, we're not here to reprimand you. We're not here to take the money back. We're not here. Whatever you think is best with this money. My mouth, Yanyn, dropped.
Right.
Because it was the first time that I ever had this institution say, you can make these changes. Just send an email along the way saying what's happening. This is the way you can do, it's not like this tight, crazy reporting. Share what you've learned with us too, and that helps us grow. And I was just floored.
It's floored. It's so interesting because I feel there right now, and I see it because I think we've had, off conversations about different generations and even the workplace and things like that. And I think that everybody is so scared of making a mistake. And everybody's so scared of just not saying the right things or not making good on promises or what have you. And what really it takes is for people to come together and have authentic conversations and say, hey, originally when we saw this is what was happening, and now it's evolved into this, and I'm just needing you to meet me halfway. And also, I think one of my newest favorite lines is just saying, like, I reserve the right to change my mind. You know what I mean? And in the sense of like, I might feel a certain way right now. And I'm not saying this like you're changing your mind every single day, but I'm saying like, I have this limited point of view with this amount of information and knowledge I need when I'm applying for this grant, when I'm selling this program. But as we're going through, I might change ways, and that's okay to change. We're evolving. We're trying to also be nimble around what are we truly trying to solve for? Are we truly trying to solve for, like in the case of Be Strong, creating wholeness within individuals, right? If we're truly trying to solve that, then we are, frankly, always ideating around what's the solution for that. And we need to be nimble and not be held down by whatever parameters we thought with a limited point of view before. Right?
Yeah, and it allows for so much, I think, creativity among our team.
Yeah.
And that's what we want, which is one of the reasons why we worked with you, because we wanted that space where we could go into really understanding our donors and building out the development process, which you did for us so well. And I want to tell you, if you ever decide, you should consider reaching out to the Win Woman, because I can tell you the way in which you moved the needle for us was incredible. And all of the assets that we have, we can't even describe what you left us with that can really set the stage for our newest team member and how we're building out that current department right now. And it's really thanks to you, just your insights. I think from the very beginning, we just knew that we would be a
meshed.
great, we were a
right
great
fit.
Yeah. And then we started to get tacos and ice cream and, work and
That's right.
work and play.
That's exactly it. I will never forget for everybody. And I think this is where you got to have, listen, we have the honor of a lot of our clients become really close members of our family. And our team really really enjoys working with Be Strong, and is absolutely one of our favorites because it's also because of the dynamics. I think if I can the love is mutual, I will say, because every time you walk into your offices, and so for those of you who have never gone down south to the Be Strong office, you're missing out. And making sure then how do you even get involved, because the energy and the culture that you all are breeding is infectious in such a great way. You leave that space feeling like, wow, like this is a culture dynamic that I want to bottle up and just spread, because this is a beautiful way that you all work together. The dynamics of trust and transparency, your values, that I keep saying, your first value of like keep it 100, because it's reality. You actually are able to meet people at where they are, where they are. So I enjoy the feelings mutual, and thank you for sharing those beautiful words about us.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we have a few minutes left because we could go on and on about this
whole thing.
Oh my goodness. I feel like I need to bring you back just to dig deeper into like what nonprofits need right now and what their greatest just challenges are, even with funders. I know that at times you've invited me to some of those kind of roundtable talks where the funders were in the room. I think that's incredible. I would encourage you to keep that up, because I feel like the more they hear us as leaders and our challenges, the more that we can get the capacity and the dollars that we need to really build out an amazing organization for years to come that can have lasting impact. If you don't have the infrastructure, you can't. It's very difficult to document the impact and the change that you can have in the community. So absolutely,
I will quickly answer that quick question, and I'm happy to come back at some point. But I will say that if I were a nonprofit leader at this time, and what we're seeing in the market for the next, because now we're halfway through this year, basically, and now the next 6 months, the issue of the challenge of sustainability is still here, right? In the sense of like, how do we keep our program sustainable? How do we ensure that we're having the right conversations with the funders? I would also encourage, I think the number one thing that I would encourage from the conversation we just had is for CEOs of nonprofit organizations and their development teams to audit right now who their major mission critical funders are and who are their like emerging hit list of who they want to approach. And especially the mission critical funders, I would encourage you all to frankly take a look in the next 3 weeks, in the next 4 weeks, before we go into the second half of the year, and pick up the phone and have kind of conversations about where you guys are at and how far along you've come through with whatever project you're working towards that they funded. And I would encourage you to have a courageous conversation about what it would take to up-level their giving. And especially since a lot of corporate, their fiscal year is coming up and they're putting together budgets, right now is the right time to do that. So that would be my feedback and suggestion.
I hope you guys caught that nugget. It is so good. I would advise everyone listening to pass this on to a nonprofit executive who would need this information. I think every time I get with her, I'm just like, give me more, give me more. She's like a walking book of just knowledge and facts and just amazing wisdom. So thank you so much for that. So we're going to go into our second segment, which is called Social Yaks. And you are like our biggest supporter of Social Yaks.
I love this
From the moment you came to us, you were like, what? What is this?
This is amazing. It's so innovative. I've never seen a nonprofit have products like this. This is great. This is fantastic. I'm looking forward to playing.
Yes. So I randomly selected these questions. She actually has not seen this for real.
I have not seen it, although I've played this game.
You're right.
So,
so you might know one of the questions at this point. But so for the audience to get to know Yanyn better, learn more about you, I'm going to have you start with breaking the ice. Okay. And so pick up that card, read it aloud.
Panda, not panda, excuse me.
Little polar bear.
Polar bear. What makes you feel most loved? What makes you feel loved the most? So I'm going to tell you, what makes me feel loved the most. So with the love languages, if you've ever done that assessment, I am definitely words of affirmation.
Aw.
So words of affirmation for me means to me, and it's not even about like, words of affirmation means to me like just acknowledgement.
You see me.
You know, you see me, right?
Yeah.
You see me. You see what I do. Like even today, like I'm filled with love with all the like the ways that you've just shared about your journey with us. So you see me. That's how I feel loved.
Oh, yay. Yeah. Okay, great. All right, so we're going to go on to, the next level, get social. That's our yak there.
Awesome. What are you most passionate about? Right now, I think it changes, right? Depending on what the season and everything else is. I think one of the things that I'm most passionate about, and it's still been on the core, is how we build Miami. I love my city. I was born and raised here, and I'm proud to say I think we're the best city in the world. I think we're the best city in the world. I think that we need to be able to galvanize together, and nonprofits need to work together. Corporations need to work together. How are we going to make this better? So that's what I'm most passionate about. That's what I'm trying to work towards. And that's the answer to my question.
I love that. Yay. All right, so we're going to dig a little deeper here.
Sounds good.
Let's go.
It's a little, what is this? A beaver. Beaver. Sounds good. Ooh, okay. All right. So the question, it gets harder and harder, by the way, for those of you who don't know, as you're going through the game. But what do you regret not doing? It's an interesting question. I have come to peace with a lot of the things for my life. I had a milestone birthday a couple weeks ago, and I really, at this time, do not regret anything. I think that the purpose of whatever lesson it played in my life has allowed me and evolved me to the person I am today. Yeah, and so the things that I currently do, I think there's times where I think about, did I regret not leaving my corporate role sooner to evolve the business, or, things that you think about, right? But in hindsight, I think I'm in the space, I'm exactly where I need to be. And I just, I think that all the decisions that have led me to get there, should, you ever doubt yourself, you have to just kind of be at peace with the fact that you wouldn't be who you are right now if it wasn't for any of the decisions that you made before. So
that's so good.
Yeah. So I honor the person I was before, and I don't regret anything at this time.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good to walk away with no regrets, to live your life as if like I'm in the perfect season of my life right now.
And
That's
it's
really
hard,
incredible.
Michelle. Like, I don't think it's like it's like sometimes you think about it, right? It's not like I don't ever think about,
right,
oh man, I could have done
especially
this
when
faster.
business is hard.
Right. Like, oh, I could have done this faster, or I could have done this sooner. I wish I would have followed up. Or I think there's like these shoulda, woulda, couldas, right? But man, if you're living in that space energetically, I just really feel that you're not able to take the next step.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, just make peace with it, right? Sit with yourself if you're feeling that like funk, and just be like, all right, I'm gonna allot myself X amount of time to feel through my feelings. It's fine, and move on.
Healthy.
Like,
it's healthy.
And move on from that, and just move on to your next role.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, we're down to the wire. That was so good. I have a follow-up to that if we have time.
Sounds good.
What do you think is unique about me? So she would have pulled this card.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is unique about me? And I'm going to say what's unique about you is I feel like you're this very wise connector soul. Like, you do an amazing job of really looking at what a person needs or what an organization needs, and somehow really, it's interesting because she does this personality test for like the CEOs. I'm like, why is our contract part of why is this involved like a personality test? And I get you, and it's because you want to know how this person leads, what ways in which you can connect with them, and your team. And I just feel like the words of wisdom which you've shared at such, and you're still young, like we're still young, what you've been exposed to in such a short amount of time of your life, and the way in which you pour it back out to people is just absolutely incredible. And that's why I'm like, don't let me go, Yanny. Don't ever let me go, because you are such this breath of fresh air. And I think when a leader recognizes that someone gets them, it's just like you can connect.
magic.
You can get it. You can get it. And so, and it's hard. I think it's hard for leaders to feel like, yeah, their team knows them and yeah, the board knows them, but like you get it. You get it. And I think that's just a unique style and the way in which you connect with people, because you reaffirm for them, like, look, I get it. This is how we're going to play this.
Yeah.
This is how we're going to do this. I think you're incredible at that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My words of affirmation bucket is overflowing. So thank you. I feel so loved and so appreciated, and I appreciate you.
Yeah. So we're running out of time. I could be here all day with Yanyn. Oh my goodness. So I'm going to let you close with your business,
Sure.
how they can get in contact with you, the specific services you provide quickly so that they can know how to find you.
Absolutely. So if you are in need, if you're a nonprofit leader and you're in need of building capacity, you want to figure out and fine tune the ways that you want to look out for new revenue opportunities, we are your firm. So The Win Woman, you can find us at The Win Woman on Instagram or online, thewinwoman.com. And if you're a corporate leader that is looking to really get out of the weeds and figure out the ROI that you're having in the community, you can find us at the same place, thewinwoman.com. Thank you.
All right, so that is the end of our show for today. We are so grateful for you tuning in. Follow us on all of our media pages, social media pages at Be Strong Intl to learn more. And we hope to see you again soon.